Hi there, welcome to the Style Sessions. I'm Roger Mittag, I'm your host again. As we said, this is our session on pale ales, and specifically American pale ales. So I want to give you some insight as to how they were started and where they've evolved to, so we can take a look at these things. So I am going to start with what I think started all of this. There is a firm belief that this particular style, the American pale ale, while it pays some homage to the British style pale ales, it has evolved. And so we look to Sierra Nevada as being the start of this whole beer style, and really what has captivated a lot of people within the craft brewing industry and across North America as well. So Sierra Nevada started in 1979 by Ken Grossman. It is the third largest of all the craft brewers with volume around 2 million barrels, which is significant. This is a big brewer, but they still do things the way that they started out doing them. They still have this amazing attention to detail. They still use whole flowered hops. They're an amazing brewery, and they've got two locations, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. So why don't I pour this beer for you? It is 5.6% ABV, which is typical of North American pale ales. We expect a little higher alcohol content, but this one is really unique. And I'll talk a little bit about why it's so unique, and then we can talk a little bit about the history of it. So I think when, and I am only speculating on this, but you can imagine that when Ken Grossman started this whole process, made a little bit of a mess on that pour too, but that's all right. That's kind of where I like my beers. I like them having that really nice frothy head on there. But you can imagine that, you know, as a home brewer, Ken Grossman would have been taking a look at traditional beer styles, and British pale ales were the norm at that point. So the things that he looked at was really nice malt profile in there, this darker color. You've got this really rich, frothy, ivory colored head. The beer is not crystal clear. It is slightly hazy because on every one of the Sierra Nevada bottles or cans, you always see that it is either can conditioned or bottle conditioned. It's really an amazing beer, but it started in 1979, and they started using Cascade hops, which were an American hop. It really is the most iconic hop that we know within brewing. It has these beautiful aromatics of pink grapefruit and pine. And so what he did was he hybridized this style. So he took the origins of a British pale ale and then added a twist, an American twist, where we're putting Cascade hops into the beer itself. So you have a good smell. And really you get lots of really interesting notes on this, but led by pink grapefruit pith or the skin, and some nice little pine needle in there. There's apricot, a little bit of stone fruit like peach. And you get, this is where things change a little bit for this style. With Grossman's style, there is a malt backbone to it, which means that you get picking things up like caramel and honey and whole grain breads. It's an amazing beer, really. It's gentle. It's got nice CO2, but it's not over the top. It's got a quick to moderate finish. It's got a slightly lingering aftertaste, and the aftertaste is primarily citrus with a little bit of pine characteristic in there. It's very, very smooth, and then again you pick up the citrus and the pine in the flavor profile, but what you also get is those really nice malt backbone notes, the things like hop or honey, a little bit of caramel in there. Stone fruit's coming back out on the palate as well. It really is an amazing beer. It is the one that started this category and vaulted the American craft brewing industry into the success that it's had over the last 20, almost 30 years now. So great beer, go out and try it. You can't, it's hard to find this up in Canada right now, and I know that a lot of US brewers are primarily focused on getting distribution in the United States, but this comes up from time to time. We see it every once in a while up here, but it's been really problematic to find over the last little while. So I want to show you in comparison a different kind of American Pale Ale, and this is where most of the industry has sort of drifted off to. And the one I'm going to use is from a local brewery in Toronto called Great Lakes. And Great Lakes, this is Great Lakes Canuck. It has been around for a long period of time. Great Lakes is a phenomenal brewery that does amazing pale ales and IPAs. It's what they've become known for. Although when I first met them in 2005, they were primarily a lager brewery. And they still make fantastic lagers, but this really is their bread and butter. So let me open this up for you, and then I'll pour it, and you can actually see the differences between these two beers. Try not to make a mess on that one. All right, so first of all, when we hold these two beers up together, you can see that one is that caramel color and the other is a pineapple, banana, mango color. It's very light, it's golden in color as opposed to amber in color. The foam on this one, on the Canuck, is bright white, it's like snow white, whereas this one's an ivory. This one is completely cloudy because it is completely unfiltered, and this one has some haze to it, which means that it goes through some filtration, but they leave some of the particulate still in there, so some proteins are still in there. The aromatics on new style APAs or American Pale Ales is really driven big time by the hop. The hop is the star of this particular style now. And you really don't get very much malt backbone in here. So it's primarily, again, pink grapefruit, pine resin. You might get some tropical fruit notes from time to time, depending on the brewer and what they're trying to achieve and what kind of yeast strain they're using. The yeast strain that Sierra Nevada uses is called a California ale yeast, and it's very, very clean, so it doesn't impart a lot of characteristics into the beer. But if a brewer decided to use a Vermont ale yeast, they would pick up some tropical fruit notes. So you might get tropical fruit on these beers. Things like pineapple, mango, papaya, guava, passion fruit are all part of this new American Pale Ale characteristic. Quite resiny. Now the difference in the body is that American Pale Ales, new styles, are really quick on the finish, so they empty out of your mouth really, really fast. And there is, again, a little mild lingering bitterness, but in this case it's very pithy. So it is that grapefruit skin characteristic that you're picking up on the aftertaste, so there is a little bit of accentuated bitterness. And then the primary characteristics in the body of the beer are going to reflect hops, and you don't typically get very much malt. So whereas the Sierra Nevada has lots of caramel and honey and whole grain breads, this one is primarily pink grapefruit and pine with a little bit of tropical fruit. Now these are both amazing beers, and it just depends on you, and it depends on your mood and what you're looking for. But I think it's really good to find out where it started from and where it has evolved to, so that we can all understand, because not everybody who loves Sierra Nevada is going to love these new styles, and vice versa. So for me, it's about understanding the style itself and having your mind prepared so that you're not getting any surprises. So hope you've enjoyed this session on American Pale Ales. Next week, we're going to delve into the American IPA, and very specifically West Coast IPAs. So I hope you'll join me next week when we visit IPAs. Again, if you ever need any more beer information, check out tfkbeer.com, and I will happily see you